the Bosnian Genocide, a massacre of Bosnian Croats and Bosniaks, Bosnian Muslims, by Serb nationalists between 1992 and 1998. To understand their motives, one must first understand the Serbs' history and ideals. I'm your faithful reporter, Elena Rodriguez, and I will be guiding you through this maze of murder. This is the timeline of Bosnian history. Yugoslavia, formed in 1918 at the end of World War I in Europe, was actually a conglomerate of the lesser states of Slovenia, Croatia, Bosnia-Herzegovina, Montenegro, Macedonia, Serbia, and the Serbian substates of Vojvodina and Kosovo. Until 1980, Yugoslavia was held together by their president, Tito. Upon Tito's death in 1980, the country began to drift apart somewhat. In 1987, Slobodan Milosevic became Serbia's leader, which, in reality, made him pretty much the exclusive leader of the entirety of Yugoslavia. Milosevic's rise to power inspired many other nationalist Serbs to ascend their respective political ladders, all of which led to a heightened sense of nationalism among Yugoslavian Serbs. This, of course, included the Serbs in Bosnia-Herzegovina. So, the Serbs are the aggressors, but there were also Bosniaks, Croats, and Slovenes in Bosnia-Herzegovina. Bosniaks are Bosnian Muslims. All Bosniaks are Bosnian, but not all Bosnians are Bosniaks. As one can see here, each of these countries' groups that are named different things in their country as opposed to when they move to a different country. For example, when in Bosnia, every single person living in Bosnia is called a Bosnian. However, Bosniaks are the Muslims of Bosnia. When Serbians move to different countries, they become Serbs. When Slovenians move to different countries, they become Slovenes. When Croatians move to different countries, they become Croats, and all of them are under the big Yugoslavian umbrella. Regardless, the Serb nationalists in power in their respective states all declared independence from Yugoslavia and were acknowledged in 1992 by the United Nations and the United States of America as independent states. However, the Serbs were resistant to this change. They wanted their countries to remain a part of Yugoslavia with their fellow Serb-ruled states and sub-states to build a greater Serbia. The Yugoslav army, which was comprised mostly of Serbs, had just finished a war with Croatia to maintain a hold on the Serb communities there. Now, the army turned its attention towards Bosnia, which was tied down by a recent arms embargo due to the recent violence in Croatia. The Serbs went to work mowing down the Bosniaks in an ethnic cleansing. The Serbs' aim was the ethnic cleansing of any Bosniak or Croat presence in Serbian territory. Human rights violations included enforced curfews, forced relocations, rape, castration, imprisonment in concentration camps, and numerous killings. Journalist Mark Danner describes the Serbs' plan of attack in city after city as follows. Concentration. They would first urge the Serb residents of the city to leave while surrounding the town and bombarding it with artillery fire. Decapitation. They would execute the leaders and intelligentsia of the town. Separation. Separate the women, children, and old men from the younger men of fighting age. Evacuation. Move women, children, and old men to concentration camps or national borders. Liquidation. Execute the men of fighting age. By 1993, the Serbs had set up their own government in Bosnia and controlled 70% of the country. Most Croats had been driven out of the country, and most Bosniaks hung by merely a thread. The EU attempted mediation, but failed. The United Nations were reluctant to aid at first, providing only some troop convoys for humanitarian aid, but eventually its peacekeeping force, UN-PRO-4, set up 6 safe areas for the Muslims, including Sarajevo, the Bosniak capital, Gradec, and Srebrenica. This failed. The Serbs took over every one of these safe areas but Sarajevo, and ethnically cleansed each one. But Was this truly an ethnic cleansing or a political one? Social? Today we have evidence that it may have truly been a religious genocide. So, to what extent did religion influence the Bosnian genocide? Here to answer this question, we have your hosts, Kusuma Merva, Jalik George, and Ava Castillo. Ava will be speaking for the Serbs, who are primarily Eastern Orthodox Christians. Kusuma will be speaking for the Croats, who are primarily Roman Catholic. And Jalit will be speaking for the Bosniaks, who just happen to be Muslims in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now to you guys!
So as the aggressor, I'll be aggressive and take the first turn. The Serbs decided to attack the Croats because they didn't want them to break apart and to form their own independent nation because we wanted to form another great Serbian nation, which wouldn't be possible without the Serbs that lived in your countries.
Well, we have every right to break free because we are non-Serbs and the Serbs living here could move back to Serbia.
Exactly. If you really wanted us to, us being friendly Muslims, we could have helped you all cement your position.
Okay, well, that's exactly why we can't trust you, since you're Muslims. We don't know how you all think, and therefore we can't trust you.
Yeah, at least the Serbs are Eastern Orthodox.
Yeah, and at least the Croats are Roman Catholic.
Well, we're all under the monotheistic umbrella.
Well, that's not really the point here we're trying to make. Yugoslavia would be a world power, but without you guys breaking free, we can't make it a world power anymore.
It's not going to be Yugoslav world power. It's going to be Serbian world power. You Serbs rule practically the entire nation. Even Tito, our Croat president of Yugoslavia, passed in 1980.
Can you really blame us for trying to break away from this?
This being a Yugoslav nation we're trying to create.
Well, it's not a Yugoslav nation.
You're just trying to forcibly annex us to get all our resources.
Well, how about we really address the problem at hand by sticking to the facts rather than opinions? All these emotions are starting to mess up our judgment.
While Serbs dominate Yugoslavia in terms of population distribution, you are the minority in Bosnia. Therefore, you should have no say in how Bosnia does things.
Well, in that same light, both you and Croatia have no right to secede without our permission because we are the more populated nation, thus making us the more dominant nation.
Even so, we are formally acknowledged by UN, so really, you all are the ones in the wrong.
Again, relax. We're doing this based on logic rather than emotion.
Okay, my turn. I'll break the character to say this to spare us the drama. By 1992, the Yugoslav Federation was falling apart. Our Yugoslav nations have swayed from communism to nationalism thanks to the efforts of Milosevic.
I'm sure I appreciate your sass.
Slovenia and Croatia were the first to break away from Serbia, but only at the cost of renewed conflict with Serbia. The resulting war in Croatia led to hundreds of thousands of refugees and reawakened memories of brutality of the 1940s. Due to Serbs' brutality, the Bosnian Croats were more resistant to Serb cleansing in the Bosnian genocide. The Bosnian genocide was extremely complex. Initially, it was the Serbs trying to erase the Croatians. So the Muslims and Serbs formed an alliance against the Croats in Herzegovina. Due to internal conflict, rival Muslim forces fight each other in northwest Bosnia. Franjo Tudjman, the leader of Croatians, wanted to revive the Croatian regime. So the Croats and Serbs fight against Muslims in central Bosnia. There are various reasons why this may have been, but the most relevant to today's topic is that Serbs allowed the alliance because the Croats were not Muslims. They were Christian just like Serbs and hence more easily relatable.
Thank you for summing all that up. And those are the facts. No emotions, just the facts.
Thank goodness, we would have been here for hours.
And now let's dive further into the statistics. In the 1991 census, Bosnia's population of some 4 million was 44% Bosniak, 31% Serb, and 17% Croatian.
Estimates of Bosniaks killed by Serb forces in Srebrenica range from around 7,000 to more than 8,000.
The genocide in Bosnia claimed the lives of an estimated 100,000 people.
In July of 1995, Serb General Ratko Mladic marched into Srebrenica, separated the women and children from the men, and murdered approximately 7,000 men and boys. It is the single largest massacre in Europe since World War II.
For those who were not killed in the initial massacre, many were sent to one of the 381 concentration or death camps in Bosnia. Inhumane living conditions, beatings, tortures, and mass executions were daily occurrences at these camps and claimed many of the lives around 10,000 people over the course of the war.
Women were often taken to rape camps where they were raped and tortured for weeks and months until they became pregnant. It's estimated that 20,000 rapes occurred between 1992 and 1995 in Bosnia.
By 1980, the population of Bosnia consisted of 1.3 million Bosnian Serbs, 0.7 million Bosnian Croats, and over 1 million Bosniaks, all with strong historical and local claims to a homeland there.
By 1993, the Bosnian Muslim government was besieged in the capital Sarajevo, surrounded by Bosnian Serb forces who controlled around 70% of Bosnia.
In the Battle of Srebrenica, up to 7,500 men and boys over 13 years old were killed. They were trucked or marched to their places of death. Up to 3,000, many in the act of trying to escape, were shot or decapitated in the fields. Up to 1,500 were locked in a warehouse and sprayed with machine gun fire and grenades. Others died in their thousands on farms, football fields, and school playgrounds. The whole action was carried out with military efficiency.
Croatia took back most of the territory, earlier captured by the Serbs, when it waged lightning military campaign in 1995, which also resulted in the mass exodus of around 200,000 Serbs from Croatia.
An estimated 23,000 women, children, and elderly people were put on buses and driven to Muslim-controlled territory, while 8,000 battle-aged men were detained and slaughtered. This so-called safe area of Srebrenica fell without a single shot fired by the UN.
So we've covered how we responded to the genocide. Now let's look at how the rest of the world responded.
The response of the international community was limited. The United States, under President George Bush, chose not to get involved militarily, but instead recognized the independence of both Slovenia and Croatia.
The International Court of Justice, ICJ, ruled on February 26, 2007, cleared Serbia of direct involvement in genocide during the Bosnian War, but said Belgrade did breach international law by failing to prevent the 1995 Srebrenica genocide.
An arms embargo was imposed for all of the former Yugoslavia by the United Nations. However, the Serbs under Milosevic were already the best armed force and thus maintained a big military advantage. An arms embargo was imposed for all of the former Yugoslavia by the United Nations. However, the Serbs under Milosevic were already the best armed force and thus maintained a big military advantage. The end of 1991 brokered as a US-sponsored ceasefire agreement between the Serbs and Croats fighting in Croatia.
After 3 weeks of negotiations, a peace accord was declared. Terms of the agreement included dividing Bosnia into two main portions known as the Bosnian Serb Republic and the Muslim Croat Federation. The agreement also called for democratic elections and stipulated that war criminals would be handed over for prosecution. 60,000 NATO soldiers were deployed to preserve the ceasefire.
When CNN started reporting on the issue and the UN established specific terms and conditions of the deployment in Bosnia, America finally took action.
The Serbs finally arrested him when his arrest became a condition of Serbia's admittance into the European Union.
A response to the Bosnian genocide was that the Serbs felt that the security and identity of their lives were threatened.
The Clinton administration. December 1995, Clinton ended the fighting in Bosnia. Because he was proud of the success, he allowed refugees to return to their homes under the U.S. brokered Dayton Peace Records. But people could only travel freely throughout the country. The civil rights of the citizens were to be monitored. NATO finalized and refined contingency plans for military operations in Kosovo.
As a result of Russian pressure, Bosnia agreed to an airlift near Tuzla to reopen for planes containing food and medicine on March 2, 1994. Bosnia was also greatly influenced by Russia. And again, back to Elena. These are the four nations that we've been discussing in our live broadcast. Croatia, Slovenia, Serbia, and Bosnia. We'll be talking about the religion, political affiliation, language, and alphabet. Both Croatia and Slovenia are Catholic. However, Slovenia is also Catholic Protestant. Their political affiliations are both Federalism. Their language differs that Croatia is Croatian and Slovenia is Slovenian, and their alphabet is basically God's Latin. The next we'll be discussing is Serbia. Serbia's religion is Eastern Orthodox. Its political affiliation is centralism. Its language is Serbian, and its alphabet is Cyrillic. Bosnia is the next one, and Bosnia's religion is Muslim. Its political affiliation is currently unknown. Its language is Bosnian, and its alphabet is Latin and Cyrillic. Therefore making the combination of the two. Okay. Now we're looking at the casualty rates. And you can see that Bosnians, because they were Muslims, have the highest decades. And next in line are the Serbs, and lastly we have the Croats. When you look at the Bosnian War in numbers, you can see that Srebrenica deaths ranged from 7,000 to 8,000. Sarajevo had about 9,500 deaths, and altogether we had about 105,000 deaths. 60% of the deaths went to military and 40% to civilians. And only about a quarter of the civilian deaths were for women. And the rest are the casualties. And again, back to Elena.
Thank you for your report. You've seen, or rather heard, how bad this genocide was. You now have evidence, as we do, that it may have been purely based on religion. One cannot truly prove this, whether this was their true motive. However, here in this room, we believe that this was a purely religious genocide. Cambodia, 1973. Rwanda, 1994. Bosnia, 1995. Darfur, 2005. All that is needed for the triumph of evil is that good men do nothing. Thanks for watching.